welcome again to all of you members. We did a very interesting workshop which on fake news and on verification of of news and facts some time back, and that really encouraged us. And as you know, that on the Quint, we take fact checking very seriously. We have a very robust, very active fact checking section called WebQoof, which a lot of you would know is a takeoff on the word Bewakoof. Okay, so we our message is don't be a webkoof. अपने आप को बेवकूफ मत बनने दीजिए. uh, and we also believe that to whatever extent possible, because these tools are now uh, you know um, you know in your uh, at your disposal. Don't be reliant just on fact checkers who are of course adept and have the skill set, but please, to the extent possible, familiarize yourself with the tools of fact checking, so that you can do your own fact checking. And that is what we are trying very hard to evangelize at the Quint. So verify Kiya Kya is part of that. We are planning Verify Kiya Kya as a series of feature videos, which we hope to put out throughout this year. And if they do well, maybe keep it going longer than that, where, in a slightly engaging format, in a format that is not jargon heavy and too technical, we are able to, bring in our lay audience, who is obviously extremely interested in getting at the truth, and introducing them to the whole idea of media literacy, to the idea of fact checking, introducing them to the tools of fact checking. And it is going to be an ongoing process, because such kind of evangelism takes a long time, and we thought that this is a very good time to start it, for the simple reason that election season is on. And election season, by definition, is when misinformation, disinformation, fake news tends to soar. People giving speeches, what you see on hoardings, what you get on WhatsApp shares. There's a lot of stuff thrown around कि हमने ये किया वो किया. A lot of uh, uh, what do you call it, assertions are made, and because of the hurly-burly of the election, there is not much time to check the facts that you are being served. So much so that even, senior politicians are heard and seen talking about facts which actually are disproven by answers given by their own ministers in parliament. So some of it is as blatant as that. So that's where we are at. Verify Kiya Kya is all about media literacy and fact checking, and the WebQoof team at the Quint, which is led by Kritika, and there is also Abhilash, and there is also Arpita. They're really working hard in this election season, overtime, really, to dispel all the fake news and the all the the slightly wonky facts that are floating around. And we believe it's a very good time to introduce you also, take your interest further in fact checking, in media literacy. So I'm going to hand this over now to Kritika and to Abhilash and Arpita. I just wanted to say that at around 5:25 I will need to exit, because we have a daily evening meeting at 5:30, which I need to be a part of. So welcome to everyone. Thanks to all the members who've been coming regularly. Thank you to everyone who's come for the first time, and I'm sure you'll enjoy this media literacy chat. And let Kritika and her team introduce Verify Kiya Kya to you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, sir. Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for taking out the time and joining this workshop today. As Rohit sir correctly pointed out, we're going to focus on fact checking and why that's so important during elections in today's webinar. I'm sure that all of us interact with a lot of information on a daily basis. But there's often this question that how do we know the information that we're interacting with is verified? And if it's not verified, then how do we find out that what is the fact or what the actual matter is? How do we do that? So, keeping all of this in mind and to answer all of these questions, we started a series called Verify Kiya Kya, as it's been mentioned to all of you. This series focuses solely on fact checking and media literacy. It's an attempt to help you become a fact checker of your own family groups. It'll help you understand the tricks and techniques of fact checking. And that's something what we are doing in today's masterclass as well. My colleague Abhilash is going to take you through the kind of misinformation that we see during elections, the kind of claims that we see, how we see that a lot of old images, a lot of old videos, old claims resurface and they're used out of context to create a certain sort of narrative. We're also going to, other than talking to you about the basics of video verification and image verification, today we are also going to tell you about the sources that you can rely on to verify some information. Again, as it's been mentioned, that it's not just about the misinformation on social media, but it's also about the kind of claims which are made by politicians. So to verify these claims, what are the kind of sources? So we're going to try and take you through all of this. But before I let Abhilash take over, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Arpita. She has a thought-provoking exercise planned for all of you. So please feel free to unmute and answer her questions. And without further ado, I'm just going to hand it over to her. Arpita, over to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Arpita. I'm a fact checker and I'm with the WebQoof team. First of all, thank you very much for being a Q insider and supporting the Quint's independent journalism. Thank you very, very, very much. So before we start the workshop, I would ask Akmal sir to play a video. And when the video ends, you can unmute yourself and tell me what are your thoughts about the video. Who is this man, and is that man linked to any polls? So Akmal sir, could you please play the video?
मेरा चुनाव में कोई मुद्दा नहीं है, मेरा अपना एक पर्सनल मुद्दा है। मुझे पैसा कमाना, इन्वेस्ट करना है और विधायक बन के अपनी जो सारी सुविधा है वो खड़ी करनी है। राजनीति में जो आता है पैसा कमाता है, अपना घर भरता है, ऐसा मैं भरूंगा। समाजवादी पार्टी में समाजवादी पार्टी के लोगों जो कितने सारे समाज के लोग हैं, सब विधायक हैं, एमपी हैं, एमएलए हैं, ब्लॉक प्रमुख है, सारे समाज का चला रहा है उनका। तो मैं भी कमा रहा हूँ, पैसे कमाने के लिए आया हूँ। जो विकास कार्य के लिए पैसा आता है उसमें 25% तो होता ही है, ये है। और कई तरह से काम होते हैं जो मुझे कुछ लोग बताएंगे। अभी तो मुझे इतनी नॉलेज नहीं है कि पैसा किस तरह कमाया जाएगा। जीतने के बाद अपने आप नॉलेज आ जाएगी, अधिकारी बताएंगे मुझे पैसा कमाने के लिए। भाई इतना बड़ा हिंदुस्तान में 125 करोड़ जनता को बेवकूफ बना के कोई बंदा प्रधानमंत्री बन जाता है, तो उसमें कोई ना काबिलियत तो होगी जनता को बेवकूफ बनाने की। तो मैं भी बेवकूफ बनाऊंगा। अब मेरा दिमाग बेवकूफ बनाने यहाँ से नामोनिशन फाइल करके अब मेरा दिमाग बेवकूफ किस तरह बनाया जाएगा जनता को, और वोट किस तरह हमें लिया जाएगा जनता से, तो मैं सोचूंगा, दिमाग लगाऊंगा अपना।
All right. So one of you can unmute yourself and tell me, who do you think is this person? From the audience, please. Anyone?
Is it not the person that is mentioned on the video, Mr. Chaudhary?
Yes. And is he fighting the 2022 polls?
Not sure.
All right. Anybody? Do you think he's fighting the contesting the 2022 polls? Anyone? Just take a guess.
Maybe not, but interesting comment.
Come again, sir?
No, maybe not. It's not contesting, but interesting comments from him.
Yes, sir. So exactly this. So these videos, this man is not contesting the 2022 polls. He was contesting as an independent candidate from Agra South constituency in the 2017 Uttar Pradesh polls. So this is how, so this elections we have seen, so such old videos and old pictures have resurfaced, which have been shared with misleading narrative and also linking to the 2022 elections that is happening across the 5 states. How we debunk these videos, how we debunk these pictures throughout the masterclass, my colleague Abhilash will explain you. And I'm not going to tell you how we have debunked it, but Abhilash will take you through that. Over to Abhilash, who can start the masterclass. And thank you very much for joining our workshop.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you again for joining. Thank you again for taking out time on a Wednesday evening to join us for this masterclass. I'll just start the presentation in a minute. And like Arpita said, I'll be taking you through how we debunked a lot of these claims that have been going viral in the election season, running up to the election season and also during the election season. So the first thing that I'll be talking to you about is reverse image search. One of the things that go viral during elections is our old images and unrelated images, which are often used to sort of create a narrative which is not true. So old comments made by politicians will be put on a quote card with a photo of them, with a recent photograph of them, to say that this is what the politician has said recently in a campaign rally. There will be photos showing the conditions of the school, highways, roads that will be used from different parts of the world, different parts of the country, to show that this is the progress that this particular party has done in this state. Another very, very frequently received misinformation is altered screenshots of opinion polls. So you see this has that we have here. It is very easy to say that this was a recent screenshot that is being shared for the 2022 elections. But once we see the numbers mentioned here, and once we see the logos and everything else, you will find out that this is actually an old opinion poll which was being shared as recent. Similar thing happens with miscaptioned pictures and misleading captions and everything. So this photo, for example, this photo was from a bridge collapse that people are saying that this was taken from a bridge collapse in 2018, and no action was taken against people who were responsible for this collapse. But once we so I'll tell you how we do reverse image search, easy way of doing reverse image search first. So you see here, we have something called as the fake news debunker by InVid V-Verify. InVid V-Verify is a Google Chrome extension that you can install on your browser. And once you install that, you will get all these options here. So I'll show you how we get that in the next slide. So this photo of Mayawati with RLD leader Jayant Singh has been shared, saying with a claim that BSP is actually tying up with RLD in the 2022 elections. This photo, we'll see how I reached the conclusion this photo is not recent. So like I said, we have installed the InVid V-Verify Google Chrome extension, which will also know how to install it. If you watch our first episode of Verify Kiya, we'll be showing you how to install the extension on your web browsers. It's a very easy step. We go here and we see the options of reverse image search on all these search engines. there's Google, there is Yandex, there's Bing, there's Tinai, there's Baidu, there is Reddit. Either we go to Google or Yandex, or which are basically which have the largest area, largest number of images that these websites have. So in this case, we did a reverse image search on Google. I'll just show. So when we did a Google image search on Google, we see that there are certain images that are there, certain websites that are there which have these images. So in this case, there's this website called Live Hindustan, which has this website. And the keyword here is Lok Sabha elections 2019. So we know that this is not recent. So when we click on this page, we see that this article was written on Saturday, 16 March 2019, and it has the same image. So it's very clear that this is not a recent image, and this is not recently that R&D leader and the BSP leader met, which basically is trying to paint a picture that there is some kind of coalition going to happen in UP between the RSP and the BSP, between the BSP and the RLD.
If there are any questions that you guys would like to ask, please feel free to unmute and ask the questions.
May I? This is Shutrupta here.
Yes, please go ahead.
Just wanted to know whether you're aware of, say, all sides or the flip side in the US. Can you hear me? I can't hear you all.
आपके पास नमकीन है? हाँ, नमकीन वाली ले लो.
I think somebody needs to mute their mic.
Sutripta, you wanted to ask a question?
Yeah. Let me get my say in. It'll take a couple of minutes then. I don't think anyone really has the time to do a fact check on their own in today's world and today's paucity of time. What I expect is that whatever my sources of news and opinion, more to the point opinions are, remain consistent in their bias. And what I would most definitely want is something in India, I mean, pertaining to India, focus on India, something like All Sides or the Flip Side, which is available in the US, who gives you in say a tabular form or columnar form, what each known to be on the say left, known to be on the right, what each of them is saying about a single issue. Would that be possible here?
Okay, so to answer your question, I think what you're also referring to is to provide all the versions. When we're talking about versions or we're talking about opinions, I think what really happens is that when we're talking about fact checking, a lot of claims are not something that we fact check. We can only fact check something when we have any sort of evidence to prove what we are saying, or if we have any sort of evidence to back what we are saying. What happens because of social media, given the fact that everybody has access to social media, has access to Facebook, is on WhatsApp groups, a lot of imagery, a lot of text messages are doing the round. So I think that is what we are focusing on right now. And I mean, given the deluge of misinformation is what makes fact checking very important. I agree with you that given the paucity of time, people really might not have that much of time to spend on a fact check. And I think that's the reason why it's fact checkers like us who are doing that work. It's fact checkers like us who are debunking that information on a daily basis. the other thing that you're referring to about providing all the versions, I think that's something which is not something that can be categorized as fact checking, and that's not something that we currently are looking into.
But Kritika, if you let me step in here, see, I just wanted to respond with 2 points. One is that it has been our experience that while there are a lot of people who definitely don't have the time, we are finding that there are a lot of people who, because they are technologically pretty adept, and because they have that curiosity and what we in normal would call that kida, to get to the bottom of things, we are finding that a fair number of people are also actually bothering to get familiar with these tools, because these are very easy to use, and they are actually going in and verifying, and we are getting a lot of write-ins from people saying, listen, I have fact checked this and I believe that this is not correct, and I would like you to double check it. So since we're getting a sense of that, I think both things are true. I think there are people with definitely not with enough time, and there are people who are also technologically not that sorted out, to do this on their own, even if they have the time. So I think we're talking about both, all kinds of people. And number two, I think certainly on every possible issue, the key issue which is election related, I think in our editorial meetings we do constantly discuss, okay, can we this particular, for example, Amit Shah's interview which he has given to Network 18 recently had made a lot of claims about UP's GDP, the crime rate over there, unemployment figures, and Kritika herself has done a pretty diligent deep dive into that, and gone into replies given by the government's own ministers in parliament, etc., gone into the NCRB data, etc., to pull out what the actual facts are. And in one or two cases the facts are fine, but in some cases it was inaccurate. So along with fact checking and giving these, passing on these tools to lay people, to the extent possible, we do keep discussing these ideas in our editorial meetings, and we do keep supplementing for our reader, the flip side, as it were, what you were asking, wherever possible, especially when it is something that is very significant, like Amit Shah making a whole lot of assertions about UP. So we do that to the extent possible given our team size, etc. But I'm sorry for intervening. We can let Abhilash carry on, please.
Yeah, sure. I'll just answer one question about reverse image search on Android. I'll just share my screen again. 1 second. So the URL for reverse image search on Google Chrome or Android is images.google.com. That's where you get this search by image option, and once you click here, you can upload images from your folder. This is what happens if you're on a Google Chrome on a desktop version, on a desktop or a laptop. If you're on a phone, you just log in. The URL is still the same, images.google.com. But in this case, you'll have to press the 3 dots, the settings option, go to desktop side, click on the desktop side. And once you click that, you'll then get this page open for you, and this will have that search by image option. And once you click on that, you can upload the image from your mobile file manager, wherever you have saved the image. Recently, Google Android devices also have this app called Google Lens. So you can also click the share button from anywhere you are. If you're looking at the image in your gallery, then you can click on the share image, and then you'll have the lens option, where if you click on the lens option, then it will search the image for different elements in it on Google, and then you can see if it matches with anything that you are seeing, or if the claim is correct or not. I'll go back to the presentation. Yes. So we saw how we debunk this claim about Jain Chaudhary meeting Mayawati. We saw the old articles from 2019 which talked about how when they met. So obviously they did not meet recently. This photo was not of them meeting recently, nor was the claim about them forming a coalition during the 2022 assembly elections. Another claim that we saw recently was this edited screen grab, which shows that there was a BSP poster in a metro station. When we did a reverse image search on this, we found similar posters having different kinds of content on them. We actually ended up finding a version of this where this was blank, completely blank, which basically means that it's an editable template and you can put anything you want on them. So that becomes another problem in which people can just go back to this particular claim and edit it and say that this particular party had an advertisement on the metro, and this claim in particular was trying to say that there was BSP posters on the metro even before the election was completed, which means that BSP is already hoping to win the elections in UP this time. We'll then move on to video verification. So there was a photograph of Ravi Kishan having a meal at a Dalit household that went viral, I think last month. And once that photo went viral, a video of him complaining about smell of a person coming from a person was shared. And it was said that Ravi Kishan, this was a recent video, and that Ravi Kishan was complaining about smell, and he's seen going and eating in a Dalit household, which is only for elections. So we used again the InVid vVerify Google Chrome extension this was the photo. I'll just show you. So we used the InVid Google Chrome extension. This was the video that was going viral. I'll just show you the video as well. A second.
बाकी लोग बाद में आगे हम 2-3 बंदे थे इसमें पहले से पसीना ऐसा महक रहा था। अब कहा बताएंगे भैया कन्हैया भैया खाते दिन रात दौड़न जाते होते। अरे तो हमारी के सुन लोग पूरा सुबह बंद कर रहे वीडियो बंद कर।
So this was the video. We'll just take the link from this video, and on the Google Chrome extension that is InVid, we click on keyframes, paste the link here, and click on submit. What it will do is it will disintegrate the video into keyframes, something like this. So you see all the keyframes in the video are here, are separated, and we can conduct a reverse image search on each of these. So when we did a reverse image search on one of these keyframes, we're now getting to see the fact checks that have been done on this particular video. This is something that happens. So like Suchita said, that it is difficult for people to fact check individually. So what happens is, once fact checkers fact check something, if you just do a simple keyword search, or if you do a Google reverse image search of the photo that you've received or the video that you've received, then you will get the fact checks. So you will not have to go through the entire process that we go through to fact check a video. You will get a fact check article on doing a reverse image search on Google. So that is another thing that happens. In this case, since we did it before the fact check articles came up, we were directed to a video that was taken back in 2019, and it showed that this was not a recent video, and it was being shared it was being linked to the current elections, and it was not actually. Similarly, another video was being shared about Samajwadi Party leader Maninder Shukla. It was said that during his campaign, some pro-Pakistan slogans were being raised in Bittur. To fact check this video, we looked for a clearer video, and we found a clear video on the said candidate's social media handles on his Facebook page. And when we slowed down the video, we actually heard that it did not say Pakistan Zindabad or anything close to Pakistan. It says, it said Mohar Maro Tan ke cycle ko pehchan ke. I'll just play the video for you in normal pace, and we'll see what was the confusion. So this video was being shared by BJP leaders who said that there was Pakistan slogans raised in the campaign rally. Even BJP national spokesperson Samit Patra leveled similar allegations. Like I said, we went through the social media handles of the candidate. We found that we slowed down the video, and we heard the entire context. Even the administration also put out a tweet saying that this was not what it was. The claims on social media were not true, and Pakistan Zindabad slogans were not being erased in the campaign. Third thing that we check during election, like Rohit sir pointed out, is claims. Claims are made by political parties, claims are made by politicians, things that people try to say that these are the things that the government has done in the last 5 years, and sometimes they talk about things that they will do if they are voted to power. So how do we decide what to fact check in this? Because there are a lot of things that people say, there are a lot of speeches that people give during elections, and it becomes a little difficult to keep a track of everything and also decide what can be done for everything. So firstly, what we check is if there is evidence, or if we have proof to back what we are checking. So in case of the recent, I'll just show you an example. So the BJP National President JP Nadda at a rally on February 14th said that there were 200 riots when Samajwadi Party was in power from 2012 to 2017, and there has been no riots in UP since the Samajwadi Party, since the BJP government took over from 2017. We've done a very detailed fact check, which we can share in the group, in the chat, where we can see that the claim made by JP Nadda was not true. There were riots that happened after 2017, and it has been recorded by the government themselves. Similarly, this is a claim that has been repeated by several BJP ministers, both UP ministers and also at national level, which says that the economy in UP never reach the second spot until the BJP took over in 2017. So it just says that in the last 5 years, we have made economy reach the second spot. This is something that Mr. Amit Shah also said during his recent News 18 interview. This is something that many BJP leaders from Uttar Pradesh have said in their election campaigns, also in interviews. And we fact checked this particular one. I'll take you through how we fact check this one. So for fact checking such claims, it is very important to understand the entire context behind what the person was talking about. So the first step usually is to listen to the entire speech and get the complete context of what he was talking about. So say the person was talking about, in this case, person was talking about the economy. So what exactly did he mean by economic? So in this case, it was the GSDP numbers. So we check the source of the information. If the speaker mentions any source of information, then we go back to the source, and it becomes very easy for us to just verify the information from the source. But if the source does not mention any information, then it is understood that we have to go to an official source, which is usually the government of India. So we go to the government of India websites, and we look for reliable data, independent, or if suppose there is some data missing, then we go to independent bodies, obviously reliable independent bodies that collate such data and put out tables for journalists, for people who do research on such topics. The last thing that we can check is parliamentary answers, where the opposition party raises questions about certain issues, be it unemployment, be it terror attacks, be it economy, and the government in power has to answer the questions and also provide details that are requested by the parliamentarians. So in that case, we get some answers from the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha websites as well. I'll just show you some of the places where you can, like, if you want, you can go back and check some of the claims easily. So I'll just take you through through these websites. While I do that, if anyone has any questions, you can again ask now.
Hello.
Yes, Saifullah.
Yeah. Yes, since you're linking, showing the sources where to check the data, like source data, I was thinking about more of the media files. You know, there is a video that got manipulated and shared a lot, but you don't know where the source of that video was from. To understand the complete context, how do you backtrack and find the original video or audio, or text is probably fine, but it might be there in the reports or something, but mostly for audio and video.
So in the case of video, what we do is, if we, like I said, we do a reverse image search, and we see if there is any version of that video available before the 2022 elections. Say in the case of Ravi Kishan, the first version was available in 2017. So we know that this is not related to 2022 at all. And it was being connected to the recent controversy that took off after he was seen having a meal at a Dalit household. So sometimes we get the exact source. I mean, that is what we always strive for, to get the exact source. And that is what is very important in a fact check as well. But in some cases, we are not able to track the exact source, but we're confirmed that it is not recent. So if a video is available in 2017, that means that it is not related to the current elections. So in that case, we can say that this is, though we do not know the exact origin or the source of this video, but we know that this is not connected to the ongoing elections. And a reason why these things are shared out of context and old videos are shared is because when an election is going on, an election season is going on, people share such things without even thinking about it, because the situation is such, it is very sensitive, and people, those who are part of the election, they want people to vote for their party, and those who are loyal to a particular party, they also want people to vote for others to vote for their party. So people just share blindly. So it becomes very important in that case to not stop our fact check or not publish our fact check because we could not find the very original source. But if we find an old version of the video, then we can still go ahead with it.
And you're saying the tool to do that is through Google, is it?
Yes.
Or some other more specialized one?
The InVid V-Verify Google Chrome extension. What that does is it basically disintegrates the video into keyframes. Keyframes would again become images basically for you, and then you can conduct a reverse image search on those images.
Okay. Because I did come across one tool earlier that is like, especially when it is social medias, except Facebook, any other social media, they do have an identifier number for whatever you upload a video. The last digits in the URL are basically an identifier number that you can run in that tool to identify where all it has been reshared from, right? But that's not the case with Facebook. Facebook does not allow or give the URI number for any app. I was just thinking on that front. Is it something like that to backtrace social media data?
It depends where it was shared. Like, for example, there is a lot of overwriting that happens when video gets shared on different platforms. So once it goes from Facebook to WhatsApp to again Twitter, then a lot of overwriting happens there. So the metadata in that case becomes different. So a lot of these tools will not be able to exactly give you the date when the video was originally created or the date when it's originally edited, anything like that. So this is the safest way, because you can see with your eyes that this video existed at a particular point of time from old social media posts. So it becomes a little easier then.
Got it.
Okay. Thank you. For anything related to the economy, we go to the Handbook of Statistics of Indian Economy. This is an annual report that is published by the RBI. It has all the information that you would need. It has state-wise data on GSDP. It has national data on different issues related to politics, employment numbers, international reserves, foreign reserves, and gold reserves, everything basically. So this is the page where you can get. Once we are, if I can share a link to this on the chat box as well. Once I'm done with the presentation. So here you will also get the archives. So you see on the right side here, I'm on the 2021 handbook. I can go to the 2020 handbook, I can go to the 2019 handbook, and I can get all the information that I want. So suppose I'm checking a claim that was made that's made in 2021 that says that in the past 5 years this particular government has done something for this state. Then I can go back to 2016 and see what the situation of the economy, what the situation of the employment, what the situation of the foreign reserves was, and then I can come back and compare it with the 2021 numbers. I can also check the year-by-year growth that is there by going to the 2017, 18, 19, and 20 handbooks. So this is where you can find all the information about the Indian economy. Now, when it comes to unemployment, there is a independent organization called CMIE, which tabulates unemployment rate in India. It does so via monthly reports and also quarterly reports. Quarterly reports are a little more elaborate, and they have a lot of other information that the monthly reports don't have. So if you go to these quarterly reports here, so the latest one was done in September to December 2021. That will show you what all information that they have on the unemployment in different states, the LFR, the UR in different states, the unemployment rate in the country, unemployment rate again divided by male, female, urban, rural, everything basically. When it comes to crime, we depend on the NCRB, which again publishes annual reports on the crime rates in a particular year. So in this case, I'm on the NCRB website, ncrb.gov.in. You go to publications, you press on crime in India. And in this page, you can get the report, the PDF report for a year just by doing a Google search as well. But we would suggest you go through the search by table option And here, if you're looking for the crime figures on a particular year, you can select the year here from the drop-down menu. You can see that the type of crime that you want. This also has state-wise data. And then you can click on search, and it will give you that particular table of that particular crime head, and from that particular year. So it becomes very easy to narrow down your searches, and you can find all the information that you want. Usually, these government websites are a little overwhelming. So that is the reason I wanted to show you where exactly you get all the information that you require. And these are, again, the claims that keep coming up: the economy, jobs, crime. Politicians would keep saying how they have reduced crime in the state in the last 5 years under their administration. People will say how they've increased jobs, how the economy has grown by leaps and bounds under them. So it is important for you to know where you can find these data. And the final one that I talked about is the health. Health, we depend on NFHS. We have publications available here on the left-hand side. NFHS 1, which was done in 92, 93. 2 was done in 98, 99. 3 was done in 2005, 2006. The last one was done in 2019, 21, and the publication is available here. It is again state-wise data, which is divided into states, union territories, even districts. So you can get all the information that you want from here, and you can see if health conditions have improved in the state in the last 5 years, or if anything has gone for a toss. Another way for us to easily search for these figures is Google Advanced Search. So what we generally do when we're searching for things is we just search for keywords, say GSTP in Uttar Pradesh or economy in Uttar Pradesh. But there are certain operators that we can use on Google, which will make our searches more narrow. Because obviously, if you just search for a generic term, economy in Uttar Pradesh, it'll give you a very wide range of search results, starting from news reports, websites, blogs, everything. So it becomes a little difficult for you to go through thousands of pages to find out the exact information that you're looking for. So these operators will help you in that case. So, one of the operators is AND. So when you say GSTP and Uttar Pradesh, it will give you search results for websites that have both GSTP and Uttar Pradesh in there. Similarly, that you can use the parenthesis and group multiple terms separated by a comma. You can use the minus sign. So suppose we want to search for Yogi Adityanath, but you don't want to search for websites or results where he's talking about economy. So you say Yogi Adityanath minus economy, then you will get results where Yogi Adityanath is there, but the word economy is not there. Similarly, you can use the asterisk mark, which basically tells the search engine to search for results that begin with the particular word. So if you see as send asterisk, then it will search for send, and it will search for other words, other types of websites which has this particular word. Then this one is again a more useful one. So in URL, GSTP. So URL is basically the URL that we have. That is what it means in URL. So if the URL of the particular site has GSTP in it, it'll give the search results for those sites which has GSTP in it. So it becomes even narrower. And we can also go for file type, which we can say file type XLS. We can say related. In this case, what I did was the search operator that I used was GSTP of Uttar Pradesh at constant prices, at constant site colon mospi.gov.in. So once I did that, I got the state-wise GSTP numbers for India, and that was on constant prices, and it was in the form of a Excel sheet. Similarly, you can also use the date feature on Google search on Google search, we can go to customize date here, and you can change the date range whenever you want. So suppose you want to look for coronavirus cases in Maharashtra, and you see the date from 1 Jan to 24 March 2020, and that will be the search result that you will get over here. Again, coming back to the fact check that we were doing, like I said, we did a search for GSTP in Uttar Pradesh on constant prices, and we got this Excel sheet from the MOSPI website. In this, we saw that from 2011 to 2011, 12, 2016, 17, Uttar Pradesh was on the 3rd rank. So the claim that it was never in the top 5 or it never reached above 7 or 8 is obviously not true. From 17 to 18, actually, Uttar Pradesh fell by 1 rank and became number 4 until 2019, 2020. So again, it stayed on number 2 during the BJP administration is also not true. Again, we checked the numbers from 2004 to 2005 and 2009 to 2010 from 2004 to 2010 basically, and we saw that UP was in 2nd position after Maharashtra. So the claim that in the past 15 years UP never reached the top 2 was also wrong. So there are a lot of videos, photos, and also claims that keep coming back after the election is done. It is understood that the person losing would blame it on something. It usually is the EVM that people blame on, and that is something that people who want to spread disinformation about capitalize on. So what we can look out for is unrelated or undated videos of voter fraud, misinformation about the counting process, imposter Twitter accounts will be calling out election results, misinformation, and it's nothing to do with elections, but misinformation in general travels a lot faster than factual reports. So if there is something that you're reading about post-poll violence, just do not share it until you verify it that it is recent and you don't find any old versions of it. So I'll just share some examples of recurring voter fraud videos. So in this particular video, the first video, it says that whichever button you press, the vote goes to BJP. So this particular video has been around since I think 2017 or 18, and it keeps coming back after every elections. And every elections we have to do a fact checking this. So in this case, I've used the image that was the most recent one, but we've had to fact check this in the Bihar elections. We have had to fact check this in other elections as well. This another video here of a woman who was questioning some people who were in a burqa and asking them how they managed to get Aadhaar cards, fake Aadhaar cards, and she was accusing them of voter fraud. This video again was shot in 2017, was viral in 2019 before the Lok Sabha elections, was again viral in 2022 ahead of the 2020 assembly elections. This undated video of a person walking into an EVM, walking into a polling booth, and the person, the election officer there, was actually telling the person where to vote for or who to vote for. And that video has been around for a very long time now, and it keeps coming back again and again. I mentioned a little bit about post-poll violence, and that is something that took a lot of our time after the West Bengal elections. So we decided to show some of the things that we learned after covering misinformation after the West Bengal election. So what happened was people were sharing old and unrelated videos as recent political violence after the West Bengal elections. Misinformation on social media used to confuse political violence with communal violence. People said that there was a fight between leaders of two political parties. It was again given a communal color, and more people were instigated to come out on the street and fight and do things. Social media influencers and political leaders with verified Twitter handles were also seen sharing misinformation. One big thing that we noticed this time was that fact checkers were accused of delegitimizing violence by doing fact checks, basically. So what happened basically was that there were certain instances of violence, and when we would fact check another instance which was actually an old one, or which was actually unrelated to the ongoing post-poll violence, people would say that you're ignoring the fact that there is violence happening, but that was not the case. It is important for us to fact check whatever is happening, whatever is not happening, because that would lead to further violence. But again, we were accused of not talking about the violence enough, which we were actually doing in our news copies. Again, like I said, it is difficult or even not possible for fact checkers to match the pace at which disinformation is spread. So it is a request that don't share anything without verifying if the situation is tense or volatile. Some of the claims that we saw during the post-poll violence, most of them were not related to the 2021 West Bengal Assembly elections. So this is basically like a cheat sheet for you on how to detect fake news. Be skeptical of everything, basically. Just because it's election season, because of how the situation is, people will share a lot of information, and you will come across a lot of information on all social media platforms. So just be skeptical of everything, verify before you share. Create your own habit of fact checking. We've shown you a few tips on how to fact check. Just if you're not sure of if you want to fact check, just ask yourself these questions: who is saying it? Why? How do they know it? What are they giving any kind of a source? Are they giving where the information they've accessed from is? Are they biased? As politicians, if they're claiming something, obviously they have some kind of bias. News articles, again, we know what kind of bias they have. What do I not know about a particular claim? So in case of data stories, we don't know what the old data said. So we go back and check for the old data in the claims in the websites that I have mentioned. Always check for the source of the information. If the person has not given the source of information, then it is suspicious. So you always have to check for the source of information. Even if someone is sending something on a group or on a WhatsApp group, closed group that you're part of, just ask for the source of information. Be very aware of your own confirmation bias. So suppose you are supporting a particular party and you're getting some message that basically says that this particular party has done great in the past 5 years. You think or feel like you should share it with someone immediately because you want people to know about it. And that is basically how confirmation bias works. So just be aware of what you're doing, even if it is a party or a person that you're supporting. Just check if the claim is correct or not. Finally, this is again something that you'll realize you'll be told about in the Verify Kiya episode 2, is how emotions play a very important role in spreading misinformation. So a post or an article, if it makes you very angry or very emotional or very happy, you have to be concerned or have to be a little careful about it, because that is how misinformation is often framed. It is meant to make you angry. It is meant to make you emotional. So emotional enough for you to share it with 5 people, 10 people, 20 people. So just be careful if a particular article or a particular statement or a comment is making you very angry or emotional. Thank you very much. We are available on WhatsApp at 96436511818. You can also send us your queries at webqoof@thequint.com, and we'll try our best to fact check whatever queries you have. I'll now send it back to Kritika, and we're open to questions.
Thank you, Abhilash. That was great. In case anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask.
If you want me to go back on some particular web page or particular tool, then you can also ask that. I can go back.
Yeah. One very regular question of the meetings presentation is like the either recording or resources that were mentioned in the session, they will be available anywhere to after the call?
Sure, I can share the resources and I'm not sure about the recording, but I'll share the resources definitely.
Okay.
Kritika, sharing the recording also.
Actually, Jessica will be able to answer the question on recording, but as Avalar said, we'd be happy to share the resources with all of you.
And these resources are something that we'll also be talking about in our Verify Kiya series with a lot more detail as well. So you can, once you watch those episodes, you'll also get to know a lot more about fact checking yourself.
So I'm just going to replug the first episode of Verify Kiya. We'd love to get your feedback. We'd love to hear from you if there's anything specifically that you'd like us to cover in these in this series. All the episodes that are planned, we definitely consider that feedback, and we'll see what more can we do around it. So I'm just going to replug the first episode once again.
I'll just pull it up.
Oh, sure. Are there any questions other than, yeah?
Hello.
Yes, Sefla.
Yeah. I just had a more general question. I mean, apart from not this election season in general, but and I understand this is a more global problem, not just in India, but in US, Russia, and anywhere, wherever. I mean, this is a playbook that's used everywhere in terms of the social medias being the amplification of the misuse. But the intent wherever anybody shares, like I was recently reading why WhatsApp is the so-called WhatsApp University, and the very reason that the encryption, the end-to-end encryption, what supposedly supposed to help us in terms of from a privacy perspective, is actually used against by the system, because when you spread whatever the false news, the company cannot, by its policy, trace back who is sharing or what it is sharing. So it's a kind of a loophole that's been used to do that, the spreading. So in general, I wanted to understand what are the other ways, like what tried and tested methods I'm talking about. Like one is, yes, you find the thing and you use certain tools to reverse check, back check where the source is, and then you report the source. And there was also what other methods have you come across apart from just back checking, which is a lot of manual effort to do? Have you come across any other institutions or anybody fighting disinformation and misinformation with some other kind of techniques? Have you come across that, as in the latest learnings going on?
Yeah. So, like you said, it is difficult in WhatsApp to trace back the source of the information who first shared it. It is similarly also, it becomes a little difficult when it comes to finding the source on Twitter or Facebook as well. But what happens is, because of the steps that the social media platforms are taking to limit or take down misinformation, people who initially share the misinformation then delete their tweets or delete their posts, and then it's people who fall for the misinformation, they keep sharing it. So the original the person who shared the misinformation, that now the tweet does not exist. It becomes very difficult once after it's very viral. Going back to the original tweet or finding the original becomes very difficult. What people have been doing, what researchers have been doing, is finding a cluster of where the tweets originated. So suppose there is a particular hashtag that is being shared with a particular claim. So say UP elections 2022 is one of the hashtags that is being shared with a particular claim. So you search for the key, we search for the keyword, we search for the hashtag, and we then map the tweets to see where the most number of tweets were shared from, be it geographical location, IP addresses, things like that, which are being done by researchers right now. How successful that will be to find the exact source will be difficult to say, but there is some work going on that front as well.
I'd just like to add one point to what Abhilash said about certain. I mean, I just want to add that there are certain organizations that are relying on machine learning models to detect misinformation, to identify the trends. Like, for instance, right now, we as a team, we manually look for misinformation on whatever platforms we're looking for misinformation. Few organizations are relying on machine learning models, but not everybody has access to that technology. Plus, of course, machine learning is a lot more expensive as a technology and not readily available. So, I mean, just to add to what Abhilash has said about going back to the source and relying on AI, it's not something which a lot of organizations at the moment are doing. And also, we're not too sure about the accuracy because a lot of it is still being tested. So we don't know. I honestly, I don't want to say that it's inaccurate completely, because again, it'll be premature to say that. But I think there would be some amount of manual intervention that would be required, because what happens when we're talking about machine learning models is also a lot of information that, for instance, we see now. Let's say an original video and an edited video, it might become a little difficult for the machine to find out. In case there's an obvious alteration, you can find out, but in case there's a very minute alteration which is not something the machine can detect in terms of text being added or in terms of a word being muted, then I'm not too sure how accurate that would be currently, because I definitely know there are certain organizations that do rely on machine learning for identifying trends, at least.
And to add to that, like human intervention is very important in a country like India, where there are so many languages, and when you're writing Hindi words in English and then other languages words in English, it becomes again difficult for the machine to understand it.
Absolutely.
I'll just play the video. No problem.
Are there any other questions that anybody would like to ask?
I'll just fill in one more. Like, if there's, please, anybody is interested, raise your hand. I'm just trying to fill in my curiosity, since nobody is asking. So my one more idea was, like, I've seen some tech companies recently, they have drafted something called c2p2.org. So that's a thing where all the tech companies have done a coalition to draft some principles where the next generation of tools that are going to come, media, like we are into creator economy, and the tools that people are using today to create, it will be built on blockchain technology. So we always will be able to trace back to what the source of that video is, because meta information is very important in a thing to back trace. If that's not there, that would be difficult. So that's one hopeful direction that is coming around, but it is still in a very draft level, no solutions around it. And then, as you said, everything today is very manual, that we have to manually do. Language really is a big challenge, that it has to be, interpretation is correct or not, or and somebody in the chat was mentioning opinions is a difficult one to catch, that it's not based on any fact, that part. And I'm just probing the space, even myself. I'm just trying to understand what are the root causes of this, how it spreads, and the case studies I was reading about. So in that one, there was one, I think Harvard report where they were talking about, yes, as you said, network, based on network analysis, like something breaks in, it's very hard to track who or where, because they're like all spread in every direction. But rather, it's more important to who is the victim. you see who has been targeted, and then from there you do an analysis, then you would be able to see a pattern of what is coming, rather than information just floating from everywhere. You can't catch everybody, but you can see who it is targeted towards, and then in that direction, if you see, you can see some meaning coming in. So I was just putting that across what I had in mind, and yeah, I'm still trying to understand the space more better, like what really are the sources of challenge. I know for sure that this is more of a technological and social challenge than it is with journalism. And somebody was suggesting that everybody should start getting newspapers. They should start subscribing to newspapers, because there is some kind of an audit, there is some kind of you can hold accountable anybody for what they're saying, rather than getting free news, which can be manipulated. And one is about that newspaper, and I think I missed the point, but yeah, I'm just saying, you have any more suggestions on this front? How can we reduce misinformation? And that network effect also, like, yes, we start from our home, that you started the whole session with. Start with your family. Like, you have some rules where you start with the family, so that every other node that does not expand reduces the effect of spreading. Like, people randomly keep sharing something because just it is based on their bias, or they feel it strongly emotional towards, and that goes in many directions. It is hard to control. Yeah, that's it.
Interesting thoughts, Saifullah. I mean, that's definitely true that it's still developing space, if I could use that word loosely here. But yeah, I mean, definitely some amount of machine learning, some amount at least to identify the trends or to notice when some amount of misinformation is spiking, that would, I think, help. But as we've already discussed, in India, so many languages, there are a lot of challenges they also pose when it comes to fact checking. But definitely really interesting thoughts on.
I just got one thing that I missed last time: the importance of local journalism. Like, we're talking about independent journalism, what we have, you or any other wire or any other online based, right, independent journalisms. And I was seeing what we have today in India is not any different than what is already happening in US or any other markets, but what they've been talking about is, just because we don't have local journalism, it's getting dead. It's almost close to dead. We have to depend on national news, which is pretty biased. So the more we promote independent news and ask people to become independent journalisms and all that, that way we get more perspectives, more views about a subject, which is more local in terms of understanding. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I do agree with what you're saying, because we see that the kind of biases that we are having, like initially the news was like presentation of facts, but now it's more an intention towards developing an opinion, right? Like imposing the opinion. So we need to promote more of individual journalists, and even at individual level, do the fact check like you guys are saying. And I'm really happy that Quint has taken such an initiative. So good work for you guys.
Thank you so much. And it's actually, I mean, thank you to all of you for taking out the time and for joining this workshop. It's because of the constant support and encouragement that we receive from members and readers like you that we're able to do what we do, because all of this is definitely very research oriented. It's very time consuming, but it's the encouragement that we receive from members and all our readers is what is helping us do what we do. I think that's it from me. Abhilash, would you like to add something? Arpita, would you like to add something?
That's it. I just like to answer Saifullah about independent journalism and local journalism. A lot of our fact checks also depend on a lot of local journalists, a lot of regional journalists, and we have to go back and depend on them because, like you said, a lot of the misinformation is available, is on the national media, is on social media, but it's very localized as well. So we have to go back to reporters who are on the ground, police officers, and also big sources on the ground, and get information from there. So a lot of what you're saying is completely making sense to me, because that is where we get our facts from. So again, like I said, it is a very important part of our fact checking process as well, even if we are a national media organization, but we still depend on the local journalists. That's it. I would also like to thank everyone for joining us.
To add to Abhilash's thing, I also want to add that this entire process of fact checking is extremely time consuming. For instance, I'll just like to give one example of one fact check that we were doing. So we had the news reports. It was about an anti-CAA protest. We had the news reports. We had everything, but somehow the location was not adding up. So what happened was, so although we had started filing the story and everything, the location was just not coming together. We reached out, although the national media was reporting about it, we reached out to one local reporter, and I insisted that if it's possible for him to go to that location where the protest was going on and take a video from there, from that rooftop or from that building where it was shot. And he went there. It took me 3 days to file that story. Finally, when he gave me back the video and the photos, that's when we were confirmed, okay, the protest happened at that particular place. So it's not only, it's extremely, every WebQoof story or every fact-checking story is extremely time consuming as well. So we do rely on local reporters for that. Yeah.
So once again, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for joining us.